ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a route review. This is episode number 283 of the Zombie Train, and I am your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Train Man. This week we are on TJ's route, which doesn't have an official name as far as I know. It's just called Downtown Route, or something like that. But I seeded the route, and we're gonna dick around in it for a little bit while I talk about the route and I give it a score. Now, for starters, this is a module. So, and I've talked about I might be using this module in the future on part of the Tolbrin Peninsula. But this is all it is. It's just these 5 tiles. And I think I missed an industry over here. Because I didn't set anything. Let's see, what is this over here? I think I missed this. Whoa! I keep finding new things. There's so many little things hidden in this map. If it wants to load in. Oh, okay, that's cute. I don't even know what this is or does, but we'll give it a hopper, because that's what it looks like. Oh, let's see. Feed and supply. So there are like 3 or 4 feed and supply companies around this map. Let me see. What is going on with my computer right now? I don't know. It's not having a good time with me. Anyway. Yeah, we're here on this map. I think the first thing I'll do is I'll bring a car over to that little thing there. See, it's completely irrespective of the size of map. As to how my computer handles it, which is to say it doesn't really handle it particularly well. Anyway, this is a route review. For those of you who have not been here for a route review previously, it is 100. It's out of 100 points, and it follows 10 criteria, which are scored from 1 to 10, or from 0 to 10, I suppose. Creativity, operations, track work, scenery, content, size, time, stock/era, and a world and a bonus. So, we're going to be going through the score on these, starting from the top with, oh, that shouldn't be green for this, should it? Well, maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it should be, maybe it shouldn't be. I'll have to factor that in later. That one makes sense. Starting with creativity. Now, I've looked around the area, and there is a lot that has gone into this route. You know, I keep looking, I keep finding new things. Clearly, it's very well packed. There was a lot of thought and a lot of love that went into building this route. And that's a Trackwork issue right there. That makes me very happy. Let me at least blow for the crossing a little bit. I'm not sure you can hear that from upstairs. You might be able to. Okay, so yeah, so creativity. I think a decent score is deserved for creativity on this one. Mostly because we really haven't seen many modules done before. At least I haven't scored very many. I know they're probably, they're probably plenty, they're probably out there plenty, but I have not had too many to look over myself. And so, with that in mind, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to have to, let me check the map real quick. I think I'm going to have to get behind this. Yeah, I will. So I have to run around this. And on top of that, there's a whole bunch of other stuff thrown in. You'll notice that you can hear a lot of things in this route. Let's see. I don't even know what the hotkey for decoupling is. But there is one. So yeah, that's something that I'll have to factor in. But something else that I have to factor in is the fact that this route falls under a lot of TJ tropes. Things that he tends to do a lot. Things that we've all sort of gotten used to, we've all sort of come to expect from TJ. That includes the street running, it includes the little station that's tucked in there, because of course you've got to have one. And just the general setting. Alright, dump truck. Alright, this is how we're gonna go? Ooh. But all things considered, there's really not a lot that's bad about this route. It doesn't feel generic by any stretch of the imagination. Even though it is, on the face of it, it's very generic just in that way. It's just a small, little town with, some residential and some stuff like that. Now, one of the things to take away from it, one of the things that I don't like, that will hurt the creativity score a little bit, is how this area is very, very, very stamped out. It could have been done a lot more interestingly. It could have been done a lot better. I think the downtown area really takes the cake in terms of what areas look really nice and what areas look, especially creative. Although this is not great. The middle of these blocks here, there's an issue with a lot of these blocks being too big, and that definitely comes back to bite him. If you look at blocks, they're normally just wide enough to get two sets of buildings back to back with a little alley in between, and that not having that makes it kind of, makes it feel like there's a lot of wasted space in here, and while from the outside everything looks really good, on the inside it doesn't look so great. But nonetheless, there's a lot of creativity packed into this map. I think, on the face of it, unless something else comes out at me, I think I'm going to have to give it a 7 right off. And part of it is, the setting is fairly generic. The towns, or the town areas themselves, are kind of uninspired, even if they look rather good. Actually, I don't know. There's a lot to take away here. There's a lot that sticks out at me in one way or another. Usually you'd expect it to be kind of hard to get a decent creativity score, because there's not a lot. It feels like almost everything's been done. It feels like there's not a lot that can add to it. But if something else jumps out at me, maybe I'll up that score. But we'll start them off with a 7 for creativity, which I still feel like is lowballing it in a way, because there was clearly a lot of thought and a lot of sort of presence of mind that went into the creation of this route. There's a lot of little things, and I suppose for creativity, it's really the little things that matter. So I'll up that to an 8, and if something else really sticks out at me, I might even up that to a 9, because as partially generic as this may be, there's still a lot that goes on around here that could be taken as being very creative. Anyway, now for operations. This is where it starts to fall down. So operations, creativity was fairly self-explanatory. Operations is a measure of how well could an AI run this route. And it's usually a measure of what stuff has been done to make the route decent for the AI, such like naming switch stands, naming industries, adding lots of track marks, that sort of thing. So, to my knowledge, there is not a single track mark on this route. So that's a huge blow. Also, the fact that none of the junctions are named, and let's see, can we see the industry names? Yeah, so for the most part, there are some named and some unnamed industries on this route. But there's really not a lot for the AI that the AI could possibly go off of. The trackage layout is fairly complex, fairly interesting, I'll give it that, but the route itself is not conducive to AI operations really at all. So I don't really want to hesitate to give a fairly low score on this. It's just a question of how low am I going to go to do this. So, I think tops it's going to be like a 4. because some of the industries are named, none of the switch stands are named. There isn't a single track mark on the map, and the signals are placed sort of backwards. You have these signals where they should be at least parallel to one another, if not, back to back, and they're front to front, and that presents a problem. So that presents a problem because if a train is pulling up to one signal and a train is pulling up to the other signal, there is room for them to collide. So you don't want to have that, you don't want to allow that, and so with that in mind, I think operations as far as this route goes is going to be a 2. The only thing that saves it is the fact that some of the industries are named and that they do operate. Actually, I didn't include that. The fact that they do operate, I'll bring it up to a 3. Anyway, now let's look at Trackwork for a minute. Now we've sort of seen at least a decent portion of what this route has to offer with regard to Trackwork, but but there is a lot of it packed into this little module, and most of it's fairly good. Most of it is pretty decent. TJ knows how to lay track, and he even sort of captures the spirit of it. Lots of straight lines with curves in between them, and a fairly awkward run around here, but it was the only place that it could realistically fit. So, that's that. It's, aside from the general oddities of the trackage itself, there's nothing wrong with the track work except for a couple of small instances in places like here, or here where it's a little bit wonky. You wouldn't necessarily do this. This looks more like something you'd do with Flex Track. So, yeah. Just to keep that in mind. Yeah, it does a lot of straight curves straight. There is a lot that goes on. This is covered in grass for some reason. But there are also some bits that are a little bit wonky, a little bit weird. I don't know. Taking all of it into consideration, the track work does have a lot going for it. And so, right off, I think a 7 is pretty par for the track work. Because there are some bits where it's a little bit weird. There are some bits where it's, fairly straightforward, but, on the whole, it's most of that. It's most of the straightforward. Most of the, well, there's nothing really wrong with it. So, I think a 7 is decent. It's just, the things that throw me off are the general arrangement of it. And I'll get more to that when we get into world points, because that's sort of the completeness of the world, the suspension of disbelief that it raises, or that it maintains. But before that, we have scenery. Scenery is also fairly straightforward. Scenery is good on this map. Even if things are a little bit bland or a little bit repetitive in some areas, there is absolutely no shortage of things to look at, and things that are clearly very, very interesting. You've even got these billboards, these little, this fruit stand, for example. Everything, this map pulls out all the stops when it comes to scenery work. And if the towns themselves were not so generic and not so repetitive, I could easily see this map walking away with a perfect 10, but that's the only thing that I cannot give it a 10 for. So it's going to walk away with a 9 in terms of scenery, which is still very good. Every inch of this map almost is respectable. It has something going for it, And there's definitely a lot going for a map this small. Or, there's a lot in it. So we need to get out of here and go and do some other work. There's a creamery here. There's a feed place there, which feeds all the cows in here. Which, boy, those guys are obnoxious. And there's a thing to pick up cows here. And I did bring some stock cars, so if I move these guys out of the way, we can go pick up some cows. Those things are fairly spread out, which is realistic. But it just, that's the fact. That's the way it is. Anyway, so content. content, right? I did not have an issue getting any piece of content for this route, and I'm pretty sure if I look at it, there is nothing with there. I'm not missing any dependencies. It didn't look like I was missing any textures. I don't think I was, I don't think there was anything that really stuck out to me as, oh, this is a hassle. There's nothing that was. There's nothing that was DLC, paid DLC. There's nothing that was, or there are not many things that were non-DLS assets. This route is pretty good in terms of content. So, as I had no problems with content, I'm going to give it a 10. As for size, so I think the thing that gets in the way of this route the most is its size. Aside from the fact that it is a very small module, there's not, there aren't many places to go, although there's a lot packed into it. Oh, that's weird. There's no invisible track over the bridge? Okay. Maybe that was just my computer going weird. I don't know. I don't think the size helps it. The size definitely helped along the ability of the map maker, TJ, to give attention to detail to every part of his route. But as far as size goes, there really isn't much place to go. And so, I would love to give this a good score. I'm not sure. It definitely doesn't deserve a bad score because the size is, the size is appropriate for the amount of detail that went into this. The size is just fine, and every, like I said, every square inch has something going on. There aren't any blank tiles. There aren't even any blank spaces in tiles, except for that bit under that industry that we saw. But all things considered, I'm not sure. This is another issue with operations. Line ahead's on signal, and we've got plenty of space to go. See, we're going over there. Going over there. We're going over there. Okay, so yeah, this is I don't know. It's got a lot going for it. I will give it that. It's got a lot going for it, and the size is fairly well done. I can't really think of how the size hurts it other than the fact that there isn't much place to go, and yet, there is plenty of stuff to do crammed into this little route here. So, I think I'm going to give it an 8. It definitely could use, maybe a couple more tiles just to link up the thing over here, although I believe that's supposed to be abandoned. No, you know what? It's going to get a 9. It's going to get a 9. Absolutely, it's going to get a 9. So, I don't think that the only thing I should say, is the fact that I think the size prevents it from being. I wanted to go on the other track. I think the size prevents it from being, or from feeling like a really fleshed out route, because there isn't like an engine house on here or anything like that. It feels like everything has to come from somewhere. Who the heck is calling me? Oh dear. Feels like the size has to come from somewhere. Feels like stuff has to come from somewhere, and there's nowhere for it to come from. Yeah, let me back down into these freight cars. No. Okay, so, yeah. Now, as for time, the next one is time. and it has to do with the amount of time that it took to put this route together. Now, to go from the starting, from the starting point to this finished product did not take that long at all. I'm not totally blown away by the amount of time that it took, but I am impressed that this much did get done. There was a lot of dedication. Whoops, I just hit the wrong button. That's going to be a hard couple. Thud. So we're going to move these guys out of the way so we can get to those stock cars. So yeah, I'm fairly impressed by the amount of time that it took, so I'm gonna give it an 8 for time. Now these are outgoing cars, I would say. Let's go this way. The cars are still freaking out at the intersection, which tells me that something is a little bit wrong with the way that that's working. I don't know why they're stuck like that. So let's bring this to a halt. Okay, so stock and era. Stock and era is supposed to be a measure of how well the route is seated with rolling stock and how well that corresponds with everything else that's going on in the route, because normally the rolling stock in the route is your best indicator of what is, when is the route set. And there really isn't an indicator here. It feels 50s. Obviously, the vehicles are set to 50s style. It feels 50s, but the confounding issue was, there was no rolling stock. I had to seed this entirely myself. And unfortunately, that means for this category, TJ's going to walk off with a 0. Routes ideally are seeded so that I can get onto them and look around them and see what's going on. I wish I could give you points for era here, but I don't know how well the era corresponds with what you're trying to do with the trains, because this is a train simulator, it's a game about trains, so everything that I say, everything that I come up with is going to be based around whatever trains are there. So I can't make a decent call on era without some rolling stock on the route. Stupid, shut up, stupid thing. Ice cream truck or whatever it is. Alright, back to what we were doing. We need to go get those stock cars. Sorry, there might be a little cut there. I'm gonna resync just in case, because something went awry in my background. Sync. Sync. Actually, you know what? This might be better. Sync. Sync. There we go. Yeah, so I'll do that. Let's go and grab those stock cars, and then we'll continue with what we were doing. Alright, so anyways, the next thing is World. Now, this, like I mentioned, World is all about the suspension of disbelief. It's all about how convincing this world is to me. And for the most part, there's a lot going on that says, yes, this is a very well done world. The terrain is flat, but it's flat with, a bit of a twist. It's not totally flat. You can tell, or you can expect certain changes in height because of, this over here, where the tracks are going down, or are they going up? I can't tell. I just know that they're going somewhere. I don't know where level 0 is. It isn't that obvious. It isn't that apparent. And I think that's really good. I feel like, all things considered, this route does pretty well with World in terms of a terrain standpoint, you know? But that might be where it ends. The town is well set up. Well, I won't say it's well set up. The town is fleshed out. You know, you've got these districts, you've got even little things like this. Oh, that's so cute. You've got, you know, ball fields, you've got factories on the outskirts, you've got this, whatever the hell this is, tucked in the middle. I don't even know what you're going for here, TJ. And you've got a couple of places out here as well. You know, it's laid out. I just wouldn't say that it's laid out particularly well, because if we look at the route itself, you would have these things, this suburbia, grouped closer. You'd probably have it over here. At least I would say so. Even though you've got this river here, you would also probably have more stuff grouped around the river. This looks like you're trying to avoid it. You know, from an engineering standpoint, or from a city planning standpoint, I don't really see it. If you're going to have anything as sort of a dividing line, also I still don't know what's going on with this. If you're going to have anything as a dividing line, you're going to have this river as a dividing line and not this space in here, which seems to be really nothing of any consequence. It's just an empty space. You'd have stuff more clustered around the tracks. This looks like the town grew up completely independent. You know, these two things grew up independent of one another. It's just, it's not the same sort of clustering that you would expect in a real town. I do, like I've said, I do appreciate the lengths that have been gone to, you know, create this town, to you know, make things the way that they are. Oh my god, he put dumpsters behind all the buildings. To create things the way that they are, and to create things of the size that they are. You know, this downtown area, this residential area, you know, it's impressive. It's just not laid out exactly right. I don't think so, at least. You know, maybe I'm wrong. If you guys disagree, you can absolutely say something in the comments. TJ, if you disagree, you can say something in the comments too. You can defend yourself. I'm ripping your creation apart over here. It's just, it's too segmented. You know, it's not as claustrophobic as it should be. A city with this much built-upness is a city that is running out of space. Or at the very least, everyone's trying to get into one place. This spot isn't really desirable for any particular reason. There doesn't seem to be a major crossroads. Where am I going? I'm going the wrong way. Let's see. So, let's look at the roads real quick. So this road goes to here. This road goes off the map here, so that's that. Comes in here. And then it goes off the map there. So there's no way to get from one side of this set of railroad tracks to the other. Oh wait, no, right there. Right there. There you go. So you can go up this way, and then to here. Over this bridge. Now this bridge looks a lot older than a road layout like this would suggest. This looks like, oh, we replaced the road so that it would, you know, work. But if you're doing this with this road, you're not leaving this bridge there. This bridge is out of date. You've got the residential district leading off the map, which makes sense because you'd have more. But let's see, do we have any other major roads? So you have this road. This is a pretty main drag. It comes all the way down here and then stops. Why? I don't know. If I were to give a recommendation, it would be that you use that bridge over here instead. Because this seems like it's along the main drag, this long straight road that pretty much goes, you know, either, you know, through town or, you know, from one side of the map to the other, pretty much. Although nothing goes off the map on this side, which that doesn't seem right. There's got to be a reason that this is here, and it doesn't seem like that reason is particularly apparent. You've got these two roads that both lead off the same side of the map, and that's it. And there's no direct connection between them. You have to go all the way around. That doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense. But the road layout itself is decent, except for the fact that the blocks are too wide. There was a lot that did go into this. It just feels more like, and you guys are going to say, well, duh. But it feels more like this is just a module just showing off some stuff as opposed to a chunk of the real world. And, yeah, duh, it is just a module. We're in a model railroad simulator, or we're in a train simulator, and we're looking at, what could effectively be a decent model railroad. But the fact of the matter is, when you put something like this together, you're trying to make it look like a chunk of the real world. And that's what I'm trying to base it on. I think that this road doesn't need to exist. This one that leads out the back here. It should be leading out the back here, or out over there, or maybe both. Maybe that would continue that way, and so we have these two roads converging here, and that would bring people to this point. Oh, I derailed my train. I guess we're just going down the main road now. Wait, why did this happen? Oh, I ran over this, which was switched the other way. Hold on, let me replace these two, just while I'm thinking about it. Let me do that. So now we're parked on the main road. Stop rolling away. Don't commentate and drive, guys. So, anyway. Let's go back and try to pick up those cows. So, for World, as much detail has gone into it, I can't give it a really great score. It just isn't there. So, oh well. I apologize. I'm gonna give it a 5. Which, in a way, is kind of a pity 5. Because there aren't even portals on the end of the track, so there's no way to actually run trains through. That's more of an operations thing, but it's a little bit of both. There's a lot railroad-wise that looks like it could be World, because we have a track that goes off that way, and then another one that leads off somewhere else on the other side of the map, like over there. So it looks like you have two railroads that came through here, one that does this, and the other one that splits the map basically lengthwise. Which is cool, and which is interesting, and then you've got this going on, which also contributes to World. So there is plenty of World there, and the fact that the residential district, or districts, are the size that they are, and that sort of thing, there's definitely some merit for an okay World score, but it's just not all there. So, oh well, I can't give you the great World score. Now we do bonus, though. Now, as for the bonus, I'm going to give you a point right off for taking my suggestion and having this continue in this direction as the abandoned line, and having this down tree here, because that's super cute. Because originally it was just these 3 bridges to get to this grain elevator, and that did not make any sense. Another bonus point is something I noticed, which is that these guys are set up here, which mirrors the way... It was to take a screenshot that mirrored the way that the Strasbourg Christmas train coming down the streets of Lancaster looked. So that's worth another bonus point. Oops, easy does it, easy does it. What else have we got? I'm going to try and give you points here, because I feel like you deserve it. You've got a lot of things, and I mean a lot of things, that have sound. Normally that'd piss me off. And it does. But I'll give you a bonus point for it because of the lengths that you went to include all those things with sound. Another one maybe for like the detail and the variety of sports fields. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. What the hell? That's an awful noise. We're gonna have to hear that again? Alright, let's keep filling these guys up. Let's get away from it. Did it not fill it up? How many are in here? Oh, it only fits 7 cattle because this has like... Oh my god, so it has all of these. All these, and these cars only take one of them. Got it. Well, that's that, I suppose. Okay, so let's just wrap this up then, because I just heard another thing. Nothing is sacred when I'm trying to do this. It's a Saturday. I thought I'd have, like, an easy time getting this done, and yet it's been a catastrophe. Anyway. I don't know. I don't know what else to throw in. Just the fact that, you know, the amount of detail that went into this route, I think deserves another bonus point. Just for that simple fact. You know, there's clearly a lot of love for this route, and in a way, I don't think the score is going to properly reflect how, you know, how good this module really is. But anyway, let's go through, and let's do our maths. So, we've got an 8 for creativity. We have a 3 for operations. We have a 7 for track work. We have a 9 for scenery. We have a 10 for content. We have a 9 for size, an 8 for time, 0 for stock and era, a 5 for world, and 4 bonus points. That's 63. That's a 63. There have been worse scores. You know, the beauty and the detail in this route definitely took it a long, long way. And I can't wait to be able to include it. It may take some adaptation, but if I'm going to use it, there's definitely a lot here that is very useful. Although I forgot that it's got all these DLS, or these non-DLS buildings. I might just have to use the Trackwork. Anyway, shout out also to this river, which is just fantastic, the way it weaves around like that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you, TJ. Train Man out.